decision in Arizona. Let's go now to Republican Congressman Bilbray of California. He's the chairman of the Immigration Reform Caucus. Congressman, your response to the ruling today, was it the ruling of an activist judge or was it expected?
No, it was a judge that basically said that foreign nationals, even though the federal government requires that all foreign nationals, legal nationals, have to carry IDs no matter where they go, that a local government didn't have the right to check. Only the federal government could. And, you know, and to say that it's a great injustice to require somebody to carry their documentation when they're legally in the country is what we do all the time as a federal government. So what they're saying is somehow we require them to show their driver's license, but if they're a foreign national, that the locals can't ask for that their green card either, which in San Diego, we've got our ICE agents and our customs agents asking for it all along. So it is sort of interesting to see that happen. But yet also the judge ruled that the sanctuary cities were allowed to be outlawed in the state, which is a step that a lot of people don't talk about. But I think you're right. We're going to talk about the E-Verify, cracking down on the employers. That's the one place, Ed, that we should all be willing to work together. And just today on the government oversight, you had an almost unanimous vote that we pushed for more E-Verify. In fact, we said that we're not going to allow flags to fly over the United States and Capitol unless they're made in the United States and made by legal workers in the United States by using E-Verify.
Yeah, I'm all about that, all Buy American stuff, no question about that. But here's what I think, that this is going to be a real test for the Congress, whether there's a midterm coming up or not. Either we're going to get serious about this on a federal level and do something, or we're not. And I think the country is pretty frustrated with all of this. This will be the first in many legal decisions. But your gut feeling is that the Republicans are actually willing to work with the Obama administration to forward this discussion?
Ed, we were able to work with the fact that some people opposed Arizona when they required E-Verify 2 years ago. They led the charge, but we basically had a stalling here that E-Verify wasn't going to be allowed to go through unless a lot of other things were thrown in.
Okay,
that's one place we can all agree on. Why can't we move what we can agree on? Yes, E-Verify should be mandatory.
Okay, what about the beefing up of the troops on the border? There's been more National Guard troops in there, more intel resources, more equipment. You're for all that.
Ed, if you want to stop illegal immigration, don't send Border Patrol agents in at the border. Go at ICE agents at the employers in the interior. The big ruse that's been going on is telling people that we can stop illegal immigration by doing everything at the border, but we don't want, and you're right, we've been covering for the employers who are causing the problem. Here's someplace that Democrats and Republicans who truly want our borders secured are going to be brave enough to say the days of employers exploiting illegal labor.
It's the cheap labor, though, Congressman. It's the cheap labor.
Absolutely.
I mean, the business community is addicted to the cheap labor, and that's why we really haven't addressed this in this country. And both parties are at fault. I admit that.
And that is why both sides should be brave enough to say, let's go to the real source, and that's the illegal employers who are exploiting. And that's one place that President Obama and those of us in the Immigration Reform Caucus should be able to work on.
And how do you think, Congressman Bilbray, the governor and the state of Arizona should respond to this ruling?
I think they should appeal it and say, look, we may not need to implement this law if you guys at the federal level crack down on the illegal employers the way that Arizona did 2 years ago. Yeah. I think that this is self-defense, Ed. If we had taken care of the employers and cracked down on illegal employment that are exploiting and causing the problem, Arizona wouldn't have been where they are now. They're basically saying they've done everything they can about employers. They're now trying to do something about the smuggling problem, and they're defensive. We ought to say, rather than attacking Arizona, we ought to be doing our part and crack down on the illegal employers.
And finally, the racial profiling that was cited in the ruling, the threat of racial profiling, that was in the ruling by the judge. How do you feel about that?
I think that it's kind of strange because that law is a federal law that requires that everybody who's a foreign national must carry that identification all the time. So it's really kind of selective enforcement saying that the feds can check you, the feds can have these checkpoints that stop you along the highway, but the state and the locals can't. That's kind of selective reality to a lot of us along the border.
I think this judge basically told the Congress to go get their act together and do something on a federal level. No question about it. Brian, great to have you.
Thank you. And they also said no more sanctuary cities, so that's part of it that isn't being talked about.
Congressman, good to have you with us tonight. Thanks.